Hello, my name is Tanya Thomas. I'm a midwifery student at Philadelphia University, and my slideshow today is on the Southwest Alaska Yupik culture in relation to childbirth traditions that support physiological birth. I'd like to start off the presentation with a snapshot of the region of southwestern Alaska. The Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta is roughly the size of New York, has no road system, and encompasses 58 federally recognized tribes. This isolated region of Alaska has been home to the Yupik Eskimo for roughly 10,000 years. Residents practice a subsistence-based lifestyle with a deep connection to the land and its creatures. Currently, women travel by small plane from their villages into the regional hub of Bethel for their prenatal appointments and their deliveries. They are required to leave their home at 36 weeks to wait in Bethel at a dormitory for pregnant women. 48 hours after delivery, they travel back home with their newborns. Historically, women lived in multi-generational houses called the Enyhet, which was where all the sewing, cooking, and birthing took place. The Echnik was off limits to men. Around the age of 6, boys went to live with the men in the Guskik, the man house. Two epidemics and the introduction of religion in the late 1800s and early 1900s destroyed nearly two-thirds of the population and changed the tribal structure socially and spiritually. Single-family households became the norm, and childbirth was commonly assisted by the husbands. When data was first collected in the 1950s, mortality rates for the Yupiks were about 107 per 1,000 births. After the building of the hospital, as well as a place for women to stay prior to delivery, the statistics improved tremendously to 1 to 13 deaths per 1,000 deliveries. Many of the traditions related to childbirth were lost after colonization. Community traditions have become further diluted, with women birthing at the hospital, far from home without any of their usual supports. The women, though homesick, lonely, and bored while in Bethel, support each other and share traditional knowledge from each of their villages. I was lucky enough to work in Bethel for 15 years with these women, and the following are the most commonly held beliefs amongst all of the 58 tribes. Commonly held traditional beliefs and their physiological support of birth. During pregnancy, the woman must sleep with her head toward the entrance and not linger in any doorways. In the morning, she must get up and go outside immediately upon waking. Elders encouraged the women to follow this tradition to ensure a fast delivery. Standing in a doorway would encourage a baby to get stuck on its way out, and remaining active throughout the pregnancy has been shown physiologically to shorten labor and delivery. While in labor, the mother is encouraged to keep moving until ready to push out the baby. It is said that if the woman is lying around complaining, the baby will also be lazy and coming out. Many women in labor are seen walking throughout the hospital. It is a well-documented fact that walking encourages labor progression. Women are encouraged to not make any loud noises or scream while in labor so as not to scare the baby into not wanting to come out. This assists in creating a calm and focused atmosphere for the woman. Remaining in control assists mothers in coping with labor. The eating of king salmon is prohibited during the postpartum period, as it is said that it causes excessive bleeding. It has been documented that a high intake of salmon can increase the occurrence of hemorrhagic strokes. The circle between birth, life, and rebirth is found consistently within the culture of the Yupik people. After birth, the mother will choose a name for the baby from someone who has recently died. The baby will take on that person's name, family connections, and some of the personality aspects of the deceased person. This secures a place for the child within the community, preserving the history of the tribe as well as linking the child to an extended family of their namesake. This also ensures survival. In looking at traditional practices that embrace the Western tradition of childbirth, I was hard-pressed to find much to go on. The Yupik tradition of childbirth are not well documented. This may stem from the fact that births occurred in the women's house in the villages. It can be assumed that births were of little interest to the fur traders and missionaries and were not documented prior to the effects of colonization, and have since been forgotten. Known Yupik traditions follow physiological birth practices with no mention of the Western traditions of shaving of the pubic hair or lithotomy position and the general passivity of Western traditions. Women are active participants in control of themselves for their labors and delivery. While delivering in the hospital, they follow these traditions until they're told not to. The woman's willingness to listen to their elders to ensure a healthy pregnancy can be extended to their willingness to comply with hospital policies of being in Bethel and following policies and direction at the hospital. Surprisingly, the Yupik women are very compliant with the policy of being in Bethel at 36 weeks. The fear of their infants dying and the automatic deference to Western childbirth may be a direct reflection of successful acculturation by the church and the government. As the native population works toward reviving their cultural identity, perhaps we will see birth attendants in the villages once again. And here you can find my references. Most of the information and all the pictures are from my own personal experience in Bethel. And below are some king salmon drying on the racks. Thank you for listening.